Captain Li Wujin stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Station, staring at the flickering screen before him. The red emergency light cast strange shadows across his tired face. He had been awake for 36 hours straight, but sleep was the last thing on his mind. The transmission from Kepler 440b had arrived 3 days ago. It was broken and full of static, but the message was clear enough. 3,000 human colonists were trapped on the mining planet. Something had attacked them, something that had never been seen before. "Play it again," Wujin said to his communications officer. The young man nodded and pressed a button. The speakers crackled to life with a voice full of panic and fear. "Is Colony Base 7 on Kepler 4 for to be? We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Unknown alien force has surrounded our planet. We cannot escape. Our defense systems are not working. Please send help. Please send anyone. The thing outside is huge. It covers the whole sky. We are running out of time. This may be our last transmission." Then came the sound that made everyone in the room go quiet. It was a noise like metal being torn apart, mixed with something that sounded almost like screaming. After that, only silence. Wu Zhen closed his eyes and rubbed his forehead. 3,000 people. Miners, scientists, families with children. All of them were counting on Earth to save them. The problem was that Earth had already tried to save them. 3 rescue fleets had been sent to Kepler 4 for Tubi. The first fleet had 12 ships with the best weapons and shields that humanity could build. The second fleet had 20 ships and was led by Admiral Park, one of the most experienced commanders in the Earth Defense Force. The third fleet had been even larger. With 30 ships and experimental weapons that had never been tested in real combat, all 3 fleets had vanished without a trace. Not a single ship had returned. Not a single message had been received. It was as if they had simply stopped existing the moment they reached the planet. The Galactic Council had declared the situation hopeless. The alien representatives had made it clear that they would not risk their own ships to save human colonists. They had lost too many vessels already trying to understand what was happening at Kepler 440b. "What is unfortunate," the tall blue-skinned Altarian ambassador had said during the emergency meeting. "But some battles cannot be won. Your people knew the risks when they chose to live so far from Earth." Wu Jin had wanted to punch the ambassador right in his smug face. Instead, he had simply nodded and thanked the council for their time. Now he stood alone in his command center, wondering what to do next. How could he tell the families back on Earth that their loved ones were lost? How could he explain that? The most advanced civilizations in the galaxy had given up. "Captain," Wu Jin turned to see Engineer Kim Sora standing in the doorway. She was a small woman, with short black hair and oil stains on her work clothes. She had been working in the Experimental Technology Division for the past 5 years, building things that other engineers said were impossible. "What is it, Engineer Kim?" Wu Jin asked. Sora stepped forward, holding a data pad in her hands. "I want to volunteer for a rescue mission, sir." Wu Jin stared at her. "Engineer Kim, there is no rescue mission. 3 fleets have already been sent. They are all gone." "I know, sir, but I think I might have a solution." Wu Jin felt a spark of hope, but he tried to push it down. Hope was dangerous when it came to impossible situations. "What kind of solution?" Activated her datapad and showed him a holographic image of a ship. It was smaller than the rescue vessels that had been sent before, but it looked different. Strange. The hull was covered in patterns that looked almost like art, and the engines were arranged in a way that defied normal ship design. "This is the Taigok," Sora said. "I've been working on it for 3 years. It uses experimental human technology that other species consider primitive and dangerous." "What kind of technology? Quantum resonance fields, sir? And something else?" "Something that only humans can do." Wu Jin looked at this strange ship design. "The Galactic Council said this mission is impossible. He said whatever destroyed our fleets will destroy any other ship we send." Sora met his eyes. "The Council is probably right, sir. But they have never seen what humans can do when we have nothing left to lose. Engineer Kim, I cannot ask you to throw your life away on a mission that has no chance of success." "You are not asking me, sir. I am volunteering." Wu Jin studied her face. There was no fear in her eyes, only determination. "Hey, why would you want to do this?" Sora was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "My sister was on the 2nd Rescue Fleet, sir. Commander Kim So-young. She was the best pilot in the Defense Force. If something out there was strong enough to stop her, then it must be something terrible. All the more reason not to go. No, sir. All the more reason to try a different approach. Wu Jin looked at the ship design again. It was certainly different from anything he had seen before. What makes you think this ship will succeed where 30 other ships failed? Because those ships tried to fight the alien force using conventional tactics, sir. They use standard weapons and standard defenses. The Taigok is not standard. It is built using human intuition and human creativity. Things that other species do not understand. That sounds like a fancy way of saying you have no idea what you are doing. Sora smiled. Maybe, sir, but sometimes not knowing what you are doing is an advantage. Sometimes the best way to solve an impossible problem is to try something that should not work. Wu Jin walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 3,000 people were waiting to be saved. Somewhere out there, an alien force was proving that humanity was not as strong as they had thought. The alien ambassadors will say you are crazy, he told Sora. They already say that about most human ideas, sir. The council will refuse to support the mission. I do not need their support, sir. I just need permission to try. Wu Jin turned back to face her. If you go out there, you will probably die. Sora nodded. Probably, sir. But if I do not go, those 3,000 people will definitely die. For a long moment, the command center was quiet except for the hum of the computers. Wu Jin thought about all the reasons why this mission was a bad idea. He thought about the 3 fleets that had already been lost. He thought about the families who would lose another loved one. But he also thought it's about the 3,000 colonists who were counting on someone to save them. How long do you need to prepare? He asked. Sora's face lit up. The ship is ready. Now, sir. I have been working on it every day since the first fleet disappeared. And you really think it has a chance? I think it has something that the other ships did not have, sir. What is that? Sora picked up her datapad and headed for the door. It has a human pilot who refuses to give up. After she left, Wu Jin stood alone in the command center, wondering if he had just signed a death warrant for one of his best engineers. But as he looked out at the stars, he felt something he had not felt in days. He felt hope. The Taigok shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler-4 for 2b. Engineer. Kim Sora gripped the controls tightly as warning lights flashed across her dashboard. The ship was small compared to the massive rescue fleets that had come before, but it was built with technology that no other species understood. Hyperspace jump complete, said the voice of her ship's AI. The voice belonged to Park Min-ho, a programmer who had died in an accident 2 years ago. Sora had used his voice patterns to create the AI as a way to honor his memory. All systems functioning normally. Yes. Sora looked through the main view screen and felt her breath catch in her throat. She had expected to see the mining colonies, lights on the planet's surface. She had expected to see the wreckage of the 3 rescue fleets. She had not expected to see what was actually there. A massive structure surrounded the entire planet like a gigantic spider web made of metal and energy. The construct was so large that it blocked out most of the stars behind it. Strange lights moved along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. The whole thing pulsed with a rhythm that reminded Sora of a heartbeat. Minhoshi said to her AI, "Are you getting readings on that thing?" Affirmative. The structure appears to be approximately 50,000 kilometers in diameter. It is composed of materials that do not match any known elements in our database. Energy readings are beyond our instrument's ability to measure. Sora whistled softly. 50,000 kilometers. I was bigger than some moons. Any sign of the rescue fleets? Negative. I am detecting no wreckage, no debris, no energy signatures. From human vessels? What about the colony? The colony appears to be intact on the planet's surface. I am detecting life signs, but they are very weak. It appears the colonists are still alive, but barely. Sora felt a mixture of relief and fear. The colonists were alive, which meant the rescue mission still had a purpose. But the alien structure was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. No wonder the 3 rescue fleets had failed. She activated the ship's long-range communication system. This is Engineer Kim Sora of the Earth Defense Force vessel Taigok. Can anyone hear me? For a moment, there was only static. Then a weak voice crackled through the speakers. This is Colony Base 7. We hear you. Is this real? You really here? Sora smiled despite the fear in her stomach. Yes, I am really here. This is a rescue mission. Many survivors do you have? Most of us are still alive, but we are trapped. That thing outside won't let us leave. Our ships won't start. Our communications only work on the planet. We have been trying to contact Earth for weeks. I am going to get you out of there. Just hold on a little longer. Sora ended the transmission and studied the alien construct. It was beautiful in a terrifying way. The metal seemed to flow like water, and the energy patterns created colors that she had never seen before. But there was something wrong about it. Something that made her skin crawl. Minho, I need to get closer. Plot a course toward the planet. I must advise against this course of action. The energy readings from the construct are extremely dangerous. Our shields may not be able to protect us. The colonists are counting on us. We have to try. Sora guided the Taigok forward, moving slowly toward the massive structure. As they got closer, she could see that the construct was not just one solid piece. It was made of thousands of smaller parts that moved independently, like a living thing. Some parts looked like tentacles, others like mechanical arms, and still others like nothing she had ever seen before. When the Taigok was still several thousand kilometers away from the construct, something happened. The entire structure began to glow brighter. The energy patterns changed from slow pulses to rapid flashes. And then, without warning, massive appendages began to emerge from the main body of the construct. Sora, we have a problem, Minho said, his voice calm despite the situation. Multiple objects are approaching our position at high speed. Sora looked at her instruments and felt her heart rate increase. The appendages were each the size of a battleship, and they were moving toward her ship with purpose. As they got closer, she could see that they were covered in what looked like weapons. Energy crackled along their surfaces, and the space around them seemed to bend and twist. Evasive maneuvers, she ordered, pulling the Taigok into a sharp turn. The ship responded instantly, dancing through space with an agility that larger vessels could not match. But the alien appendages were fast too. They followed her movements, reaching out with tendrils of energy that dissolved asteroids and space debris with ease. Warning, Minho said. The energy beams appear to be matter disintegration weapons. Direct contact will result in complete molecular breakdown. Sora felt sweat beading on her forehead. I got it. Just keep calculating escape routes. She pushed the Taigok through a series of complicated maneuvers, using the ship's experimental engines to move in ways that defied normal physics. The alien appendages followed her every move, but they seemed confused by her flight patterns. They were used to fighting ships that moved in predictable ways. Suddenly, a voice filled the cockpit. It was not coming through the communication system. It was speaking directly inside her head, like someone whispering in her ear. Another insect comes to die. The voice was like grinding metal mixed with the sound of breaking glass. It made Sora's teeth ache and her vision blur for a moment. Your species learns nothing, the voice continued. 3 fleets have already fed my hunger. Their metal and flesh now serve my purpose. You will join them. Sora tried to focus on flying while the alien voice spoke in her mind. The appendages were getting closer, and she could feel the heat from their energy weapons even through the ship's shields. I am the devourer of worlds, the voice said. I have consumed 1,000 civilizations. I've turned their greatest warriors into my servants. I have taken their most advanced technology and made it part of myself. What makes you think you can succeed where they failed? Sora gritted her teeth and pushed the Taigok into a spin that brought her dangerously close to one of the appendages. The alien weapon fired at the space where she had been a split second. Before, maybe I can't, she said out loud, knowing somehow that the creature could hear her. But I am going to try anyway. The alien voice laughed, and the sound was like nails on a chalkboard. Try, you think effort matters? You think determination changes the laws of physics? I have heard the same words from every species I have destroyed. They all thought they were special. They all thought they could find a way to win. The appendages were surrounding her now, cutting off her escape routes. Energy beams crisscrossed the space around the Taigok, creating a deadly web that was closing in on her ship. Your rescue fleets thought they were clever, the voice continued. They had powerful weapons and strong shields. They had experienced commanders and brave crews, but they were predictable. They fought like every other species in the galaxy. They used logic and tactics and strategy. Sora realized that the creature was not just attacking her, it was studying her. It was learning how she flew, how she reacted, how she made decisions. Just like it had learned from the 3 rescue fleets. But I am different, she said more to herself than to the alien creature. Different? The voice sounded amused. You're smaller than the other fleets, weaker, less experienced. How are you different? Sora looked at the energy patterns surrounding her ship. They were beautiful and terrible, but they followed rules. The creature was incredibly powerful, but it was also predictable in its own way. It attacked the same way every time. It spoke the same way. It probably destroyed every civilization using the same methods. I am different, she said again, because I am human. The alien voice was quiet for a moment. Then it spoke again, and this time there was something new in its tone, something that might have been curiosity. Human. Yes, I have heard of your species. Are the ones who build weapons that explode in your own faces. You are the ones who fly ships into danger for no logical reason. You are the ones who fight wars over ideas that cannot be touched or measured. That's right, Sora said, and despite everything, she smiled. We are the crazy ones. For the first time in thousands of years, the Devourer of Worlds felt something it had almost forgotten. It felt uncertainty. The alien appendages closed in around the Taigok like the fingers of a giant hand. Energy beams filled the space between them, creating a deadly cage that was getting smaller by the second. Sora could feel the heat through her ship's shields, and warning alarms were going off all around her. Sora, Minho's voice said through the speakers, "Shield strength is down to 60%. We need to escape this formation immediately." Sora looked at the energy patterns surrounding her ship. The Devourer of Worlds was playing with her, just like a cat plays with a mouse before killing it. That the creature was studying her reactions, learning her flight patterns, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But something her grandmother had told her years ago suddenly came back to her. When you are trapped, the old woman had said, sometimes the best way to escape is to do something that makes no sense. Sora reached over to her ship's entertainment system and selected a song from her personal collection. It was an old Korean folk song called Ararong that her grandmother used to sing to her when she was a child. The melody was sad and beautiful. Full of longing for home and family, she turned the volume up to maximum and began to sing along with the music. Her voice filled the cockpit, mixing with the ancient melody that had been passed down through generations of her people. Ararong, Araron, Araraho, she sang, her voice clear and strong despite the danger around her. Go. The effect was immediate. The alien appendages stopped moving. The energy beams flickered and went out. For the first time since the attack began, the Devourer of Worlds was completely silent. What are you doing? The creature's voice finally spoke in her mind. But now there was confusion in its tone instead of confidence. Sora kept singing, guiding her ship in a slow, graceful pattern that matched the rhythm of the song. The Taigok moved through space like a dancer, turning and spinning in ways that had nothing to do with military tactics or escape maneuvers. This is not logical, the voice said. You are surrounded by weapons that can destroy you instantly. Why are you singing? Sora finished the first verse of the song and started the second. As she sang, she activated her ship's communication system and broadcast the music into space. The melody echoed through the alien construct, creating vibrations that had never been heard there before. You are wasting time, the creature said, but its voice sounded uncertain now. This behavior serves no tactical purpose. It does not help you escape. It does not make you stronger. Maybe not, Sora said between verses, but it makes me feel better. She switched to a different song, this one more upbeat and cheerful. It was a children's song about a rabbit and a turtle, something she had learned in elementary school. As she sang, She began to pilot her ship in patterns that matched the playful spirit of the music. The alien appendages tried to follow her movements, but they seemed confused by the lack of logic in her flight path. They were designed to counter military maneuvers, not to deal with a ship that was dancing through space like it was at a party. "This is madness," the devourer of worlds said. "No species has ever behaved this way when facing destruction. You should be afraid. You should be trying to fight or flee." "I am afraid," Sora admitted, spinning her ship in a complete circle for no reason except that it felt right. "But fear is not the only thing I feel." She switched to another song, this one a love ballad that her parents used to play on quiet evenings. As the music filled the cockpit, she thought about her sister So Young, who had died trying to save the colonists.
Ow.
She thought about the 3,000 people trapped on the planet below. She thought about everyone back on Earth who was counting on her. "I feel sad for my sister," she told the creature. "I feel worried about the colonists. Feel homesick for Earth. I feel proud of my ship. I feel curious about you. I feel grateful for this chance to help people." The alien construct around her began to pulse with different colors, as if it was trying to process emotions it had never encountered before. The appendages moved uncertainly, reaching toward her ship and then pulling back as if they were not sure what they were supposed to do. "Emotions are weakness," the voice said, but it sounded like the creature was trying to convince itself. "They cloud judgment. They lead to poor decisions. They cause civilizations to destroy themselves." Sora laughed, and the sound was clear and bright in the darkness of space. "Sometimes. But they also give us reasons to do impossible things." She began to recite poetry now, Korean poems about mountains and rivers and the changing seasons. She had memorized them in school without really understanding why they were important. Now, as she spoke the ancient words, she felt connected to every person who had ever lived on Earth. Every human who had ever looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. The devourer of worlds fell silent, but Sora could feel its attention like a weight in her mind. The creature was listening to every word, trying to understand what she was doing. "Your species is strange," it finally said. The others begged for mercy or shouted threats. They tried to bargain or to fight. But you sing songs and speak poetry. You dance your ship through space like you are celebrating something. "Maybe I am celebrating," Sora said, switching to a traditional Korean drum song that made her want to move. "Maybe I am celebrating the fact that humans never give up, even when we should." She guided the taegok in a complex pattern that resembled the movements of a traditional Korean fan dance. The ship moved with grace and beauty, completely ignoring the weapons that surrounded it. "We're not like the others," the creature said slowly. "They fought with logic and strategy. They used tactics that I had seen 1,000 times before. But you fight with something I do not understand." "I am not fighting," Sora said, performing a perfect barrel roll that served no military purpose whatsoever. "I am being human." The alien appendages pulled back slightly, as if the creature was reconsidering its approach. For thousands of years, it had destroyed civilizations by studying their military capabilities and then overwhelming them with superior force. "But how do you fight an enemy that does not follow the rules of war?" "What is your objective?" the voice asked. "Hope to accomplish with this behavior?" Sora thought about the question while she sang a lullaby that her mother used to hum when she was scared. The melody was soft and comforting, completely inappropriate for a battle in space. "I hope to confuse you," she said honestly. "I hope to make you uncertain. I hope to show you that humans are different from every other species you have met." "Different how?" "We do not just survive," Sora said, beginning to play a recording of a traditional Korean orchestra. The music was complex and beautiful, full of instruments that had been crafted by human hands over thousands of years. "We find meaning in the struggle. We create beauty in the darkness. We love each other even when it makes no sense." The creature was quiet for a long time. The alien construct continued to pulse with strange colors, and the appendages moved in slow, uncertain patterns. Sora could feel something changing in the alien mind that was connected to hers. "I have consumed civilizations that were older than your species," it said finally. "I have absorbed the knowledge of races that could manipulate matter with their thoughts. I have destroyed empires that spanned entire galaxies, but I have never encountered anything like this. Sora smiled and began to sing Arrow Wrong again, but this time she sang it not just for herself, but for her sister, for the colonists, for everyone back on Earth, and somehow, impossibly, for the ancient creature that had spent so long in the darkness between stars. "Welcome to humanity," she said. For the first time in millennia, the Devourer of Worlds did not know what to do next. The space around the Taigok suddenly went completely silent. Appendages stopped moving. The energy beams disappeared. Even the constant hum of the massive construct fell quiet. Sora stopped singing and looked around, feeling like she was in the eye of a storm. "What is happening, Minho?" she asked her AI. "I am not sure," Park Minho's voice replied. "All energy readings from the construct have changed. It appears to be reconfiguring itself." Sora watched through her view screen as the alien structure began to shift and change. The metal flowed like liquid, rearranging itself into new shapes. The tentacle-like appendages pulled back toward the main body, and the web of energy that surrounded the planet began to contract. "It is creating something," Minho said. "Something big." The creature that called itself the Devourer of Worlds spoke in her mind again, but this time its voice was different. It was focused now, determined, like a predator that had decided to stop playing with its prey. "You have shown me something new, human," it said. "For that, I almost feel grateful. But you have also shown me something dangerous. Your species does not think like others. You do not follow the patterns I have learned to expect." The alien construct continued to reshape itself, drawing in material from across its massive structure. Sora could see pieces of destroyed ships being absorbed into the growing mass at the center. Metal and technology from a dozen different civilizations were being melted down and reformed. "This cannot be allowed to continue," the voice said. "If your species spreads across the galaxy, if other humans learn to think like you do, then everything will change. The order that I have created will be destroyed." Sora felt a chill run down her spine. The creature was not just trying to save the colonists anymore. It was trying to stop humanity from becoming a threat to its control over the galaxy. "What are you building?" she asked. "I am building the end of your story," the creature replied. "For thousands of years, I have consumed civilizations by learning their weaknesses and exploiting them. But you have no weaknesses I can understand, so I will try a different approach." The mass at the center of the construct was growing larger. Sora could see that it was taking the shape of something familiar. It had a head, arms, legs, and a torso, but everything was wrong. The proportions were twisted, the materials were strange, and the whole thing pulsed with energy that made her eyes water. "It is creating a body for itself," Minho said. "Physical form. I have learned from every species I have destroyed," the creature continued. "I have taken their knowledge, their technology, their biological patterns. I have become something greater than any single race could ever be. And now I will use all of that power to face you directly." The avatar that was forming looked like it was made from the nightmares of 100 different worlds. It had the metallic skin of machine races, the organic flexibility of biological species, and energy patterns that belonged to beings made of pure thought. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. "Call this form the end of all things," the creature said. "It contains the combined might of every civilization I have ever consumed. No single being has ever faced this level of power and survived." The avatar was now complete. It was the size of a small moon, floating in space near the alien construct. When it turned to look at Sora's tiny ship, she could see that its eyes were like black holes, pulling in light and giving nothing back. "You impressed me with your songs and your poetry," the creature said. "But emotions cannot stop physics. Beauty cannot deflect energy weapons. Love cannot protect you from the combined military might of 1,000 dead worlds." Sora looked at her ship's instruments. Energy readings coming from the avatar were beyond anything she had ever seen. Her shields would not last more than a few seconds against that kind of power. Her weapons would not even scratch something that large and that well protected. "Minho," she said quietly, "do we have any chance at all?" "Statistically speaking," her AI replied, "our chances of survival are less than 1%. Sora nodded. She had expected as much. But she had not come this far to give up now. She opened a communication channel to the planet below. Colony Base 7, this is Sora. I need you to listen carefully. Things are about to get very dangerous up here. I want you to move all of your people to the deepest shelters you have. Stay there until I tell you it is safe to come out. Is happening? Came the reply from the planet. We can see something huge forming in space above us. I am about to have a conversation with the thing that has been keeping you trapped, Sora said. It might get loud. She closed the communication channel and looked at the massive avatar floating in front of her. It was so large that she could see individual details on its surface. Weapon systems that belonged to races she had never heard of, armor plating made from materials that should not exist, energy conduits that pulsed with the power of dying stars. Are you ready to face the end of all things? The creature asked. Sora took a deep breath and checked her ship's systems one more time. The Taigok was small and fragile compared to the SC monster in front of her. But it had been built with human technology, human ideas, and human stubbornness. It had been designed by someone who refused to accept that some problems could not be solved. You know what? She said, looking directly at the avatar through her view screen. I've been ready for this my whole life. The end of all things raised. One of its massive arms. Energy began to gather around its hand, building to a level that could crack planets. The space around it warped and twisted as reality itself struggled to contain that much power. You'll die trying, the alien cried, its voice echoing through both space and Sora's mind. The words carried the weight of absolute certainty, the confidence of a being that had never been defeated. Sora looked at the monster that had destroyed 3 rescue fleets. She looked at the combined might of 1,000 civilizations that had been consumed and turned into weapons. She looked at energy levels that could reshape, solar systems and technology that could bend the laws of physics, and then she smiled. It was not the smile of someone who had lost their mind. It was not the smile of someone who had given up hope. It was the quiet, confident smile of someone who had finally found something worth dying for. Maybe, she said simply, her voice calm and steady, but I'll die human. The avatar's hand began to glow with the light of a newborn star. The energy building there was enough to vaporize everything within 1,000,000 kilometers. But Sora did not try to run. She did not try to hide. She just sat in her pilot's chair, smiled at the monster, and waited for whatever came next. For the first time in its existence, the Devourer of Worlds felt something it had never experienced before. It felt doubt. It's not about its power, not about its ability to destroy this tiny ship, but about what would happen after the human was gone, because in all its thousands of years of existence, it had never seen anyone face certain death with such complete peace. The avatar hesitated for just a moment, its hands still glowing with destructive energy. In that moment of hesitation, something changed. The human's smile had done something that all the weapons and shields and tactical genius of 1,000 civilizations could not do. It had made the Devourer of Worlds wonder if it was making a mistake. The massive avatar of the Devourer of Worlds held its glowing hand in the air, energy crackling between its fingers like captured lightning. But something was wrong. The creature that had destroyed 1,000 civilizations was hesitating. Sora sat in her pilot's chair, still smiling calmly at the monster that could end her life with a thought. She was not trying to escape. She was not begging for mercy. She was just waiting, as if she knew something that the ancient alien did not. "Why do you smile?" the creature asked, its voice uncertain for the first time in millennia. "You are about to die. Your mission will fail. The colonists will remain trapped forever." "Why do you look peaceful?" "Because I understand something now," Sora said, her hands moving quietly over her ship's controls. "You said you have been studying humanity. You said you know all about us, but you missed the most important thing." The energy in the avatar's hand grew brighter, but it still did not attack. "What did I miss?" "You think I came here to fight you?" Sora said. "You think this is about weapons and tactics and who is stronger? But that was never the point." Us. She spoke. Sora activated a sequence of commands that she had programmed into her ship's computer weeks ago. The Taigok began to emit a series of sound waves that were too low for human ears to hear. The waves spread out through space, bouncing off the alien construct and creating patterns that looked random but were actually very precise. I did not come here to destroy you, Sara continued. I came here to save people. And while you were busy listening to my songs and watching my ship dance, I was doing something else. The creature's avatar turned its massive head, trying to understand what the human was talking about. I was mapping you, Sora said simply. The truth was that everything Sora had done since arriving at Kepler 44 to be had served two purposes. Yes, she had been confusing the alien with human behavior it could not understand, but she had also been using her ship's sensors to study the creature's construct in ways that no one had ever tried before. While she sang Korean folk songs, her ship's computers were analyzing the acoustic properties of the alien metal. While she recited poetry, her sensors were mapping the energy flow patterns through the construct. While she danced her ship through space, she was testing how the alien defenses responded to different types of movement. The songs I sang were not random, Sora explained. They contain mathematical patterns that humans have been passing down for thousands of years without knowing why. When I played them at the right frequency, they created resonance waves that mapped the quantum structure of your construct. The Devourer of Worlds felt something it had not experienced in eons. Surprise? That is impossible. Your species does not have that level of technology. You are right, Sora said. We do not have that technology, but we have something better. Have culture. The pattern of sound waves that the Taigok was creating had reached a critical point. The ancient Korean melodies, when translated into specific frequencies and played in the right sequence, were creating a harmonic resonance that the alien construct could not process. The folk songs, the poetry, the traditional dances, Sora continued, they are all based on mathematical patterns that describe the fundamental forces of the universe. My ancestors did not know they were creating a weapon. They just knew that these patterns felt right, felt beautiful, felt true. The alien avatar stepped backward, its massive form shuddering as the resonance waves reached the core of the construct. The metal began to vibrate in ways that it was not designed to handle. Energy conduits started to overload. Act! Weapon systems began to malfunction. You studied our military technology, Sora said, but you never studied our art. You learned about our weapons, but you ignored our music. You thought our emotions were weakness, but they were actually our greatest strength. The construct around them was beginning to destabilize. The web of energy that had trapped the planet was flickering and fading, but the massive appendages that had surrounded Sora's ship were retreating, trying to escape the harmonic frequencies that were tearing at their quantum structure. This is not possible, the creature said, but its voice was weakening. I am the sum of 1,000 civilizations. I have the combined knowledge of the greatest minds in the galaxy. But none of those civilizations were human, Sora said. None of them sang lullabies to their children. None of them told stories around fires. None of them created beauty just because it made them feel better. The avatar at the end of all things was dissolving now, its borrowed materials returning to the cosmic dust from which they had been taken. The alien construct was falling apart, unable to maintain its structure against the resonance waves that struck at the very core of its being. How? The creature asked, its voice fading. Sora thought about her grandmother, who had taught her the old songs. She thought about her sister, who had died trying to save people she had never met. She thought about all the humans throughout history who had created art and music and poetry without knowing why it mattered. I did not know it would work, she said honestly, but I hoped it would. And sometimes hope is enough. The Devourer of Worlds felt its consciousness scattering as its physical form collapsed. For the first time in thousands of years, it was dying. But as it died, it finally understood what made humans different from every other species it had encountered. Do not fight to win, it said, its voice barely a whisper now. You fight because fighting itself has meaning. That is right, Sora said, and that is why you could never really defeat us. The alien construct crumbled into pieces, releasing the energy web that had held the planet captive. The massive structure that had seemed so permanent and threatening just moments before was now nothing but debris floating in space. So Dashra opened her communication channel to the colony. Colony Base 7, this is Sora. The threat has been neutralized. Begin evacuation. Procedures immediately. We are going home. The response from the planet was a mixture of cheering, crying, and disbelief. 3,000 people who had given up hope were suddenly free. Minho Sora said to her AI, "Set course for the colony. We have people to pick up." "Course set." Minho replied, "Sfrura, how did you know that the resonance frequencies would work?" Sora smiled as she guided the Taigok toward the planet. "I did not know. But my grandmother always said that music was the language of the universe, I guess." She was right. As the Taigok descended toward the colony, Sora could see the rescue ships launching from the planet's surface. Soon, all 3,000 colonists would be safe. The mission that everyone had called impossible was finally complete, but the most important victory was not the rescue of the colonists. It was the proof that humanity's greatest strength was not its weapons or its technology. It was its heart. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Taigok was not designed to carry passengers. But Sora had managed to modify the cargo holds to accommodate the rescued colonists. It was crowded and uncomfortable, but no one complained. Alive, and they were going home. So Dashra spent most of the trip in the ship's small medical bay. The resonance frequencies that had destroyed the alien construct had also damaged her ship's systems, and she had been exposed to more radiation than was safe. But she was alive, and the colonists were safe, and that was all that mattered. On the final day of the journey, Captain Li Wujin contacted her from Earth's defense station. "Engineer Kim," his voice came through the communication system. "The Galactic Council wants to speak with you when you arrive. They have questions about what happened at Kepler 440b." Sora was sitting in her pilot's chair watching Earth grow larger on her view screen. Home looked exactly the same as when she had left, but everything felt different now. "What kind of questions?" she asked. "They want to know how you destroyed something that their most advanced technology could not even understand. They want to know if humans represent a threat to galactic security." Sora laughed, and the sound was tired but genuine. "Tell them that humans are only a threat to things that threaten us first. I will pass that message along." "But Sora, they are serious about this. What you did out there has changed how the galaxy sees our species." "Good," Sora said. "Maybe. Now they will understand that we are not just another primitive race that needs to be protected or controlled." The Taigok entered Earth's atmosphere with a series of sonic booms that could be heard across 3 continents. As they descended toward the spaceport, Sora could see crowds of people waiting to welcome the rescued colonists home. There were families who had thought their loved ones were lost forever. There were reporters who wanted to tell the story of the impossible rescue. There were government officials who wanted to understand what had happened. But Sora was not thinking about any of that. She was thinking about her sister Soyoung, who had died trying to save these same people. She was thinking about her grandmother, whose folk songs had somehow become the key to humanity's greatest victory. She was thinking about all the humans who had lived and died, without knowing that their art and music and poetry would one day save the galaxy from an ancient evil, after the colonists had been safely transferred to the medical facilities and their families. Sora made her way to the debriefing room, where Captain Li Wujin was waiting for her. She was exhausted and still weak from radiation exposure, but she had a report to write. "How do you feel?" Wujin asked as she sat down at the conference. "Table like I have been hit by a spaceship," Sora said.
Bad, but better than I expected.
Wujin activated a recording device and placed it on the table between them.
Us. This session is being recorded for the official archives. Please state your name
And mission designation for the record. Engineer Kim Sora, pilot of the experimental vessel Taigok, rescue mission to Kepler 440b. Please describe the events of your mission in your own words. Sora took a deep breath and began to tell the story. She described the alien construct that surrounded the planet. She described the creature that called itself the Devourer of Worlds. She described how human culture and art had somehow become the weapon that saved 3,000 lives. When she finished, Wujin was quiet for a long moment. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. "Do you understand what you have done?" he asked finally. "I rescued some people who needed help. You did more than that. You proved that humanity has something unique to offer the galaxy. It showed that our emotions and our culture are not weaknesses to be overcome, but strengths to be celebrated. Sora nodded. She understood that. Her mission had been about more than just saving the colonists. It had been about proving that humans belonged among the stars, not as junior partners to more advanced species, but as equals who brought their own gifts to the galactic community. "What will you put in your official report?" she asked. Wu-Jin thought about the question while he watched her through tired eyes. "I will tell them the truth. I will tell them that when faced with an impossible situation, humanity found a way to succeed. I will tell them that our greatest weapons are not our ships or our guns, but our ability to hope when hope seems pointless, and to love when love seems dangerous." "And what about recommendations for future missions?" "That is easy," Wu-Jin said with a smile. "When facing the impossible, remember that humans do not just survive, they find a way to thrive. The universe may be vast and dangerous, but it has never faced anything quite like human stubbornness paired with human heart." Sora stood up from the table, feeling the weight of exhaustion settling over her like a blanket. "Will the Galactic Council accept that kind of report?" "They will have to," Wu-Jin said, "because it is the truth, because they now know that. Underestimating humanity is a mistake they cannot afford to make twice." 3 days later, Sora received a message that the Galactic Council had officially recognized humanity as a full member species with equal voting rights. They had also requested that human cultural experts be assigned to study missions throughout the galaxy to help other species understand the power of art and emotion in solving seemingly impossible problems, Sora read. The message while sitting in her small apartment, looking out at the city where she had grown up. Children were playing in the streets below, singing songs and telling stories and creating art without knowing that they were carrying on traditions that had just saved the galaxy. She thought about her grandmother, who had taught her that music was the language of the universe. She thought about her sister, who had died believing that some things were worth any sacrifice. She thought about the 3,000 colonists who were now home with their families. Most of all, she thought about the moment when she had looked at an impossible enemy and smiled, not because she knew she would win, but because she knew that being human was worth fighting for. The universe was vast and full of wonders and dangers that humanity was only beginning to understand. But whatever challenges lay ahead, Sora knew that her species would face them the same way they had always faced impossible odds. With hope, with love, with stubborn determination, and with the quiet confidence that came from knowing that some things were more important than winning. They would face the future as humans. And that, she realized, was their greatest strength of all.